Welcome to More Than Renovating, a renovate and real estate podcast. Our founder, Belinda Smith, talks to industry experts to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to make renovating for love and profit your reality. Belinda will also chat to some of her Renovation Mastery members, who are just everyday people doing extraordinary things, following their passions in the renovation and property space. So, let's jump straight into the episode. Enjoy.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Belinda Smith from Renovate and Real Estate, and today's podcast episode is brought to you by myself. This is More Than Renovating. Our podcast is called More Than Renovating because renovating is not just all about hammering nails, painting walls, refreshing existing house spaces, doing your own home or investment property. There is so much more to the game of renovating. If flipping and investing and renovating were miraculously easy and super simple, everybody would be doing it and they'd be making a lot of money. But the truth is that there are quite a lot of moving parts in the actual renovation project. But beyond that, today's topic is all about handling multiple tasks. So there are moving parts, but we also exist in a world, particularly women, where we have family, we have responsibilities, where we are trying to move the project along, where there's holdups with tradies, where there's communication issues, perhaps there's just a whole lot of stuff that can happen on a renovation site. So let's talk today, or I'm going to talk today and give you my tips on how I prioritize and plan my world around renovating when I'm actually renovating. It's easy for me when I'm just living my life, advertising, coaching, talking to students, helping them through their renovation. But for me, as well as you guys, I'm still effectively working, running Renovate and Real Estate, and now I'm renovating as well. I understand I've renovated through working before many times. So I really do understand the difficulties that we face when we are in charge of our households. And whether you be male or female, we all have multiple responsibilities. It's not just working on the renovation, it is juggling family and all of the expectations that society has for us and we have for ourselves. So let's talk about handling multiple tasks. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned that have really worked for me over time. And I think one of the things that's really stood out to me over the years is that the busier I become, the more I can accomplish. I remember years ago when I wasn't working as many hours as I am now, and I wasn't doing so much, or I didn't have so many people in my life through Renovate and Real Estate, the student group, and all of my team, plus my family. So it just wasn't tugged in as many different directions. And sometimes the ironing pile would sit there and I'd leave it till the next day. It was pretty efficient, but I'd leave it till the next day because I'd think, oh, I'm just too tired to get to things. Now, at the moment, I put my foot on the accelerator and I'm fascinated at what I can achieve in a day when I really, really focus. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's important, what's not important. Let's start at the beginning. So if I'm working a renovation project or doing anything, the first thing I do is work out my priority list and plan from there. So in my mind, the things that I need to prioritize are the things that are the most urgent and the most important, those that are critical to some kind of timeline, tasks or jobs that somebody else is waiting on me for. And in relation to a renovation, I make sure I prioritize the tasks that may cause delays to the project if not addressed straight away. So I don't want my builders who are charging a certain amount per day wandering around twiddling their thumbs because I haven't been agile enough and ordered the product they need to fit or signed off on certain plans, kitchen plans, bathroom plans, whatever. So, I don't want my tradies held up because of me. I think that when we work for a boss, if a boss is waiting on something and they say, you must have this finished by 5 o'clock or I need this done, we'll do it. And yet we'll let ourselves down sometimes. So learning to prioritize and really place importance on the most crucial tasks has been really helpful for me to work out what I need to put first and what I can leave till second, third, or fourth or fifth. Detailed planning. I communicate with my builder all of the time so I can see what's coming up, or so I can understand what's coming up this week, what's coming up next week, and what's coming up down the track. That helps me with my list. That helps me keep on top of scope of works. If I'm organising and planning a renovation myself, I've done the scope of works myself. In this case, the builder's done the scope of works because this is a big, big renovation that I'm into at the moment. So he's in control of what's happening, but I need to be across it. And I need to be across it so I can support him and the team in the best way that I can. So I communicate consistently, and I selected this particular builder. I'll give him a plug. His name's Matthew Challand and his partner is Mark. Those boys are from Into Building and Design Proprietary Limited. They're in Sydney. They're based in the Shire, but they're in Sydney. They'll work in Sydney. They are a phenomenal team. They come highly recommended. There's not been anything that's been an issue since the minute we started and even before. They're the best team I've ever worked with. They're just an amazing crew. So I'm grateful to have an amazing crew. If those guys are going to turn up every day and work hard on my project, I don't want to hold them up. I too have family, kids, grandkids, all of that kind of stuff. So it's really important for me to plan, to prioritise, and to keep one step ahead of the tradies throughout the project from start to finish. Even if I'm feeling fatigued, I have to push that aside and just think, what am I going to do? What needs to be done? Who can I outsource this to? All of those questions start to pop into my mind when I start to get fatigued. Let's talk about product ordering. There is a wait time now for ordering product that we never had to deal with back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s when we were doing our renovation projects. Product galore, availability galore, a lot of stuff already sitting around in the country somewhere. Now so much stuff is imported from overseas. There's political unrest overseas. There are, certain sections of the world that people can't fly over or travel their ships through. So there are delays, and you need to be able to understand the delays. When somebody says, when it comes to a product, it might be 6 weeks before this product is available or in the country, I ask, where is it? Where is the product coming from? And if they say overseas, I skip that product and choose something else that they can answer the question, this product is in Melbourne, Perth, Darwin, I don't care where, so long as it's inside our borders, I will order that product, because I know anything can happen with freight. And if something is delayed, they say it's going to take 6 weeks, they probably mean 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. Once they have your deposit and your money and you're waiting on something, you've just got to write it out. And let me tell you, that can really delay a project, and you don't want delays. So ask, where is this product when you're ordering stuff? And ask what the lead time is, and don't trust that anything is going to arrive. Always have a plan B in your back pocket in case you need to go to your plan B. Delegating. It's so hard. CF, control freak, control freak. If you're a control freak, or if you just know that you can do things really, really well yourself and you'd prefer to do things yourself, then that's awesome. But there's a time to delegate. And it's really difficult watching somebody else have a go at something you can do very, very well yourself to a very high standard, because most probably they're not going to do exactly the job that you could have achieved yourself. If they come in at around about 80%, I think that's a good result. If somebody can do a task 80% as well as you can do it, I think that'll do. I think that's all we can expect, because once they've done the majority of it, you can go in there and fix up a few little minor details perhaps, or know that they're going to improve as they keep working with you and you keep working together. It's important to delegate so that you can try out a team, so you can develop other people to do things for you, so you don't have to be the control freak in charge of everything, because it can become overwhelming. So delegating is really important. Let it go, and let go of feeling like you're the only one who can do anything good enough. And just pick up the bits and pieces That's way, way better than doing the whole thing. It actually doesn't cost as much money as you're probably thinking too. A lot of people, when they're renovating, have this mindset that they have to be in charge of everything because it's going to save money. But we can only do a certain amount of things, one by one out, or maybe even as a couple. We can only do a certain amount of things per day. And when you start to delegate, then you can be working on one thing and another team member can be really working on another thing at the same time, so you can get more things done. It just keeps a project moving along smoothly. If you don't empower others to have a go, then nobody's going to have a go. If you don't allow people the space and the freedom to stuff a few things up along the way, then they're never going to be brave enough to have a go. They're not going to grow. They won't learn. They'll be very, very codependent. Let's talk about that term for just a moment. So I'm talking about, people who support you on your renovation site. But when we look at our family and the way our family's structured, as mums, we are more and more becoming a helicopter parent society. You'll hear that term thrown around a lot. And while doing so, we are actually creating a family environment where members are very, very dependent on us, where they rely on us to make decisions. They pass things by us. They lean on us when times are tough. They vent to us. They expect us to organize things. We end up being the head of the household in many ways. So that's okay. But when you're renovating and working full time and you've got a lot of balls in the air to juggle, what you needed to have done far earlier is to empower the kids to, bumble along by themselves a little bit. Now, when I say that, I don't mean let people fail in such a way that's detrimental to their future, to themselves, their health, their finances. I'm not meaning leave people crash and burn, but I'm saying, as our kids are growing up, it really is helpful if we empower them just to give them confidence to have a go at some things, because then we breed really independent adults who can adult and go and organize and make decisions and be a little bit braver in their own worlds as they forge their own futures. And so it makes things easier for you if you're at my end of at my end of the scale, where I have kids now and 2 grandchildren. It's really nice to have kids who are standing on their own feet, who've bought properties, who are on their way. And I see so many people my age whose kids are very heavily reliant on them, or they need to pass every decision by them because they feel like they can't do stuff on their own. So don't allow yourself to parent your kids to the extent where everyone is so dependent on you that all roads lead to you, because that is exhausting. It's not good for anyone, and it's certainly a lot to juggle when you start to take on something big. Conversations with family is really important to set some boundaries. So whereas you may have had time up your sleeve to scoop everybody up and to help everybody along and really dabble in their day-to-day goings on, by the time you're knee deep in a renovation and you're also perhaps working at the same time, you really have to start to work out what you'll pay attention to and what everybody else needs to leave you alone. Yeah, they need to leave you alone a little bit. So because we've always been used to being there for everybody, sometimes that needs a conversation, a bit of a family scrum down and a discussion, so that you can all work out what's going to happen in the future, just to give you some space for a few months. We all deserve some space, and we all deserve to be able to put ourselves first sometimes. And it's really important that you have that conversation and set the expectations. So you might say, rather than just pick up the phone and call me, can you text first with the word, "This is urgent, mum or dad or whoever, please call," or "Can you give me a shout out today when you've got a free moment?" Like just setting the simple boundary like that, rather than everyone just picking up the phone and saying, "Mum, can you do this? Mum, can you do that?" even that will just allow you the space to focus on what you're doing at that moment. It's just important and to value yourself, to love yourself, and to respect that you have an important role to play as a manager of a renovation, and you have an important role to play in your family, and those roles can coexist, but you need to manage how they coexist, and you need to set some expectations from everybody else that is affected by your decision to go and make profit for the family. Don't forget, property investing, renovating, flipping homes is all about the bigger picture, which is all about everybody's happiness, which is all about creating a better financial future and perhaps easier cash flow so you can all go on holidays together or spend time together, whatever it means for you, whatever reason you're putting together your property portfolio and you're focused on renovating at that moment. It matters and everybody gets to benefit. So just a gentle reminder of that is really crucial, I think, so that they get it without feeling like you've just ignored them now and you used to be so there and now you're so not. You don't want them to feel that. So lots of conversations around it really helps. Technology. We live in a time where we can utilize technology so that we can handle multiple tasks, so that we can manage everything that we have on our plate. So don't forget to use it. On your phones, download apps. There's Trello, there's Asana, there's Evernote, there's Notes on your Apple phone, there's Microsoft Project. There's lots of ways to keep track of tasks. There's deadlines, there's your to-do lists, and there's progress. You can keep track of everything. If you're one of my Renovation Mastery students, you will have our feasibility software that you can actually download and you can track your project. You can keep all of your quotes and your notes and everything all in one place. You can pay your invoices. You can keep ahead of what's happening with your budget. You can operate it all from one space. But if you're not one of my students, that's okay. You can manually work these things out, but make sure that you use what's available to you. I love to set a platform for communication with my builders while I'm in the middle of a renovation or a consultancy project. I'd like to set a platform where we communicate that's external from email or external from text messages. So it just captures my attention more often. So I'm talking about perhaps Voxer or Visor or any of those things. Oh, what to say, visor? That's what you put on your head in the sun. Sun visor, Viber, just any of those, those apps that you can use so you can communicate with each other in a little group. Facebook Messenger will do it, just so that you get alerts that are separate from your day-to-day. If you're like me and you're at work and you get lots and lots of emails, then an email doesn't capture my attention or attract my attention as fast as that little notification I get from WhatsApp when the builder has a quick question about a measurement or a wall sconce or any of those things that he needs solved on the fly. That means he can keep building, and it means that I can look at the phone and don't have to be here breathing down his neck or looking over his shoulder to answer his questions, and just keep a track of what's happening on the build without being an absolute control freak and drive everyone crazy. So use technology. It is there for our benefit. Use some kind of technology or list creation to do some check-ins with yourself on a regular basis. I'm a morning person, so I like to wake up in the mornings and write my little list for today. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty weary at the end of the day, particularly if I've done some coaching till later at night time. I'll just check over that list and then I'll go, okay, I'll glance at my next day. Okay, tomorrow I've got this, this, and this already in my calendar. I know that I also have to do this, this, and this. I might even diarise it. I might put it in the calendar so that I know that I've set some time apart so that no one can book in an appointment at that particular moment. So I actually do things that way. And I've found that very, very helpful, is to set some strategic time aside to achieve some stuff. And I check in the morning. The busier it is, the more I need to check in, not the less. So I sometimes find with my students that the busier they get, they'll forget. The busier they get, they'll forget. to write their lists, and they'll forget to check in with themselves. And that's when things start to feel chaotic. And when things start to feel chaotic, then the whole renovation experience isn't as enjoyable, and it's not easy. My renovation at the moment is easy. It's a big reno, but I'm not finding it difficult at all. The crew's great. It's easy. I could do this day in, day out and not really have any angst about taking on a big project like I have. So that's key. Keep on top of it, be organized, focus on it, focus on what is the most important thing to you at that time, and understand that we can all take it another level if we need to, at least for a short time. People call that going on a sprint, like doing things in sprints. So I think renovating and flipping homes is a perfect example of how you can sprint and then take time out. Sprint, take time out. So I'm just picturing myself running around a track at the moment. It's not a pretty sight. But yeah, go flat out and then take some time out. It's also pretty important that when you take time out, you regroup and reconnect with people you've let slide a little bit. And that might be friends that usually occupy your weekend time, or it might be family members, or you just might have felt a little bit neglectful of, things around you. So it's time to regroup, reconnect, reinvigorate, re-energize, just relax and revive. Use the chance at the end of a renovation to do that. And, when you're in the middle of the busyness, don't be so caught up in the moment. The messages you tell yourself, oh my goodness, they have a big impact on the way you feel. If you're walking around going, I'm so busy, I just can't deal with this. There's so many decisions I have to make in a row. How will I cope? I'm exhausted. Don't talk to me right now. And if you start to get grumpy with people around you, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't send a really good message out there. It's not helpful for you or anybody else. And I think it's unnecessary and just makes you feel overwhelmed. So breaking things down into chunks and just looking at your list every day, staying on top of it, staying organized, working just that little bit harder, even when you're feeling tired, it serves you for the next week and the next week and the next week, because not every day is like that. Even in the middle of a renovation, not every day is exhausting. Some days are quieter than others. Some days you do get to go and get your hair done and your nails. So yeah, manage your energy, manage everybody else's expectations, and ask them to support you at a higher level. It's pretty important. As well as daily check-ins, I do a weekly check-in. And when I'm doing a weekly check-in, I'm having a pretty good look at the week in advance, and I'm having a good glance at what's coming up 2 weeks and 3 weeks in advance, just to make sure I'm ticking off my list and that I haven't forgotten to order anything that's really important that the builders might perhaps be waiting on. So yeah, get stuck in. Keep revising, revise. Keep checklists, whatever you need to do, whether it's just something written down next to the kettle upstairs, or I don't know, next to your computer, whatever you refer to, whether it's list writing or whether it's using some kind of software to keep you on task, doesn't matter. You do you, and that's all good. I find that when I get really, really busy, when I feel very, very flat out, I work best setting time to do the tasks that I have ahead of me. So I could spend all day on Pinterest, Googling around, looking at wall sconces is my latest. I could spend hours, but if I have to order something, I set my timer for 54 minutes. And I make sure that I'm done and dusted and have it sorted and have something ordered within that time frame. Whatever your task is, set a time frame around it. Now, what that does is, in my mind, it creates some urgency. I look at the time and I think, oh, I've only got 20 minutes to go. I better make a decision now, or I better get this finished now. It stops me from being distracted by my phone. It stops me from being distracted by other people, or from, thinking I'll just go and have a cup of tea in the sun. If you set timers for 54 minutes and 90 minutes, they're my two favorite blocks. I find I achieve a lot in a reasonable time frame. And then when I go and have a cup of tea afterwards, I feel so much better. Like having done that task and having completed it, When I do take some time out, I feel like I'm rewarding myself. If I go and have a coffee in the morning before I've achieved what I needed to achieve for the day, I sit there having a coffee thinking, oh, well, this is pleasant, but at the same time, I've got so much to do. I really don't relax into it. So I've learned that I enjoy going out of a late afternoon for a drive down to the beach or whatever I need to relax and chill and regroup and refresh. Just a little bit of me time. I can always fit that in. And when my tasks are done, I feel so much better about the me time. Batch tasks together to be more efficient. So when you're really busy, it's time to really nut down and look at your efficiency. So batch tasks, for example, paying bills. There's no point opening up the banking and paying 1 or 2 bills one day and then doing the same the next day and then doing the same on a Thursday. If you batch all of those bills to pay them Friday morning at 8 o'clock, you sit there and you go bang, 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 bang from one after the other. And then you keep all your records of who you've paid and where you're up to, and everything's done. And I find that really, really helpful. If you don't batch your tasks, you tend to spend the first 5 minutes trying to work out or remember where you're at when you finished, when you closed off from the last time. So it's just helpful. It just allows your mind and your brain to be more efficient. You're not losing time at the beginning and the end of every task. Set an alarm. I really like alarms going off, and reminders. Tackle the worst job first out of your priority list. Look at what needs to be done soonest and what you hate doing the most, and go for that one. Do that first. If you're working full-time and you're renovating, be respectful, I ask, to your boss or anybody you're working for. It's not their responsibility that you've taken on this renovating thing. But if you can be efficient with your time, then go for it. Use your lunchtime wisely. You don't necessarily need to sit out there and yak with the girls or the blokes during lunchtime. You can get on the phone and call a few tradies or check in with your real estate agent, whatever it is you need to do. Send messages to the builder, whatever you need to do. You need to do that in and around your work time. Then think about the little pockets of time you have to accomplish that. It might be, if you're a morning person like me, it might be that you set your alarm nice and early in the morning every day for 2 months. It won't kill you to do that. And then if you frame your day, like you really are attacking your day from a very positive standpoint, if you get up and do that every morning. What are the ways that you like to cope? So if you're starting to feel anxiety, if you have a really crappy day, I want you to have close at hand some things that help you unwind and relax. For me, I know some people don't like baths, but I just love to lay in a bath. If I've had a really crappy day, I really love just to lay in a bath at the end of the day, and I really do relax. Some days even go to sleep. If you don't hear from me for a few days, know that I've fallen asleep in my own bath and ended up in trouble. It just unwinds my mind, my body. There's a woo-woo reason for it. There's a scientific reason why surrounding ourselves with water actually calms our soul. So it's probably why. It's probably why I'm so drawn to the ocean as well, and I love the smell of salt water. So, whatever works for you. You might have a favorite tree outside that you sit underneath and have a cup of tea. You might have a view. You might have a favorite chair in the sun. It doesn't matter what it is, but whatever ritual you have, I want you to lay it out, and I want it to be available for you. So don't make it like I'm going to go and get a massage or a facial, because if you are having a crappy day and you can't book until Friday, by Friday things are probably better by then. So do something that you can lean on in the moment. I'm not saying drink. I mean, some people like to have a glass of wine, but I think if you're really, really busy, then if you're drinking alcohol, all it does is slow your mind, and it actually makes you, I believe, less motivated in that moment. And if you drink enough, definitely the morning after. So I think that it's time actually to put the alcohol down and not lean on it. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I had a disastrous day, I'm going to have a drink. It's really entrenched in society, and I love a glass of wine. But, there's moments where I think, no, that's not going to serve me best if I drink tonight. I'm going to have a cup of tea instead, or a nice big glass of water, or whatever, fruit juice, whatever. Family. It is okay to have those conversations with your family. Set some expectations about how much they can rely on you. Let people know that if you feel like you're neglecting them a little bit, let them know that you're not feeling okay about how things are, that you feel like your attention is on something else and not on them. Let them know. Let them know that it's not about them. It's just about what you have to accomplish and the goals that you've set for yourself for that couple of weeks. They will be okay. They will absolutely be okay. The hardest part with renovating is if there's an illness that affects either you or someone close to you while you're mid-project. So I really want you to have some kind of strategy that you can fall back on. I'll give you an example. With my renovation here, because I'm doing all the designing and the product selection and the ordering on behalf of the trade team, but because I now know the build team very, very well, and they're very, very clever themselves, between my daughters, who I trust have got the same taste, they know what I like, right? They've seen me do this kind of work for years, so they know what I like. Between them and my builder, I know that this project would be complete, and it could be complete even if I was absent. And I would, turn up at this project if I got, I don't know, I'm thinking the worst. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you need a plan B. You need to have a plan B up your sleeve, somebody who's going to take over if things get tough, or if you get called away, or if something turns up. You need things to be able to continue on, because time's money, money's time. So have your plan B in mind. Even reach out to the people who are involved in your plan B and say, hey, if something happened, could you, and give them permission. You have my permission to go and finish off this build with the builder. Whatever you put together will just be fine. Just have your plan B. Whilst we're renovating, and if we are working full time, or we've got someone to care for, or there's something, or if there's a lot, right? If there's a lot going on, I'm going to say a big statement here, guys. Drop your standards for a while. Give yourself permission to have an imperfect house, to have a laundry basket that's fuller than usual, to have an ironing pile that has backed up for a couple of days. And, if you're like me, I like to iron it, put it away. So there are days here while this renovation goes on where my ironing pile does pile up a bit, and I've just given myself permission to do that because there's other more important stuff going on, and I can always catch up a bit later. So it is okay to drop your standards. If the lawns look pretty awful and you are busy renovating, then get someone else to come and do your lawns. Get somebody else to come and do your ironing. Get someone else to care for people in your family that need attention. We've actually got in-laws at the moment who are elderly. And so as a family, we all got together and we've got somebody in to take care of those family members, because it's good for them too. It means that while we're all busy and we're working, they're not sitting there on their own. And it's also good for us to know that these beautiful humans in our life are being well catered for and well cared for. And then, of course, we're all doing our best to get there ourselves. But it's just a situational thing. And so that's going to happen. Life is not easy. And life while you're renovating can be quite complex. And I hope that some of the tips that I've shared with you today have been helpful. And I also think that if you're anything like my student group, when we discussed this morning, we could all see bits and pieces in this discussion where we identified our character traits and where we know we could make some room for improvement so that everything's just easier. There is a reason why people flip homes for profit, for lifestyle and income. And they wouldn't be doing it full time if it was something that was impossible to get through or had detrimental impacts on the family. In fact, it's the reverse. Renovating allows you to run in a sprint for a little while and have plenty of time to relax and regroup. It also allows you to, or anybody who does it well enough, who does it precisely and knows what they're doing, to add chunks of cash to their income. So instead of working for a boss for 12 months flat out to say earn $100,000, which might be less than that after tax, you can absolutely smash that out of the park with a good renovation. And when you get going, like some of my students are, there's nothing stopping you from doing 2 or 3 of those in a year. It is all about being organized, prioritizing tasks, setting expectations from those loved ones around us, just going hard at it for a little while and then taking time off. It's about prioritizing what's going to create you the most income in that moment and letting people know that it just doesn't have to be forever. You guys are in charge of the size of the projects you take on, of whether you take on a cosmetic renovation or a structural renovation, which takes longer, more planning, it's more complicated basically. You guys are in charge of the types of homes you purchase, or if you're not purchasing homes to do this, the types of clients you work with or the types of properties you work on for a profit share. You guys are actually in charge. I think that renovating is so important, and having our own wealth and knowing that if anything happened to a spouse or anybody else, we could be fully independent on our own. Renovating is just amazing when it comes to knowing that we'll always be okay and that we've got this talent and this skill and our life is going to be secure. And I'm just going to close by saying giving up a capacity to earn, to serve the needs of others. This is especially if you feel like you're always putting other people first. That results in feeling depleted after a while because there's lots of energy going out and there's no real reward coming back other than people thinking that you're a nice person and caring and a loving person. But life is more than that. And to be honest, you're worth more than that. And so love yourself enough to go out and do something for you. And if that is renovating to earn a significant income and letting everybody else around you know that they've got to create some space for you to enable you to do that and do that well, then so be it. In the long term, everybody will respect and love you for it. They will also look up to you. You'll become a more significant member of the family. And I think it's really important to set examples for the youngsters, especially now more than ever. Youngsters are really struggling to see how they're going to get into the property market or how they're going to go from one property to a better property. Renovating holds the key to that. And so in closing, thank you for joining me for this little special episode, another Belinda rant in the More Than Renovating podcast. I work with people really closely and I do understand the ups and the downs, the difficulties, the triumphs, the highs and the lows. But I just wanted to let you know, guys, that it is so worth it. It's so worth it. So go and make your way. And if I can help you in any way, just reach out. renovateandrealestate.com.au/call will land you in my calendar and we can have a chat. Thanks, guys. Have a beautiful evening or day or morning whenever you're listening to this.